Our next guest today, we have a very important guest with us, and I'm feeling so honored introducing her. She is none other than Gitanjali JV ma'am. She is the founder, CEO, Dean of Himalayan Institute of Alternatives Ladakh. Another founder member of HIAR is Mr. Sonam Mangchuk, Global Innovator and Academician. Before this, she has worked with corporate sector for 6 years, established a publishing house, Helios Books, and transformed AIM hospitals in Puducherry. She received the Satya Sai Award for Excellence in Education 2019, and she is also the finalist of Young Creative Entrepreneur Publishing 2011. Again, welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Deepak, Mr. Deepak Goel, Director of Imperial College, for inviting me. And very happy to be with you. I'm told there are all undergrad and postgrad students here. And it reminded me of my undergrad and postgrad days. And I'm asked to speak about reimagining higher education. So we can reimagine it from 2 points of view. One is as students, and the other is as policymakers or educators. So since you're students, I would like to bring the perspective of what higher education means and deconstruct it, and what should we be doing as students when we are in higher education, which is the undergrad and the postgrad onwards levels. So, be it higher education or school education, the first question that we need to ask is, what is education for? What is the end towards which we educate ourselves? And if we try to answer, we will find that today the purpose of higher education has become livelihood alone. And that too, we are not doing a good job in training the students in livelihood, because I'm told more than 75 to 80% of engineers in a research conducted were considered unemployable. So all the other aspects of education, like building of character, social awareness, embarking on a path of self-discovery, they are not even thought about in education today. So I'll keep NEP 2020 aside, though I have been a part of the designing of it, which is another story. But let us take the meta picture of what is education and higher education. So if we have to deconstruct it, there are two entities in this world, right? One is me as a person, as a human being on this earth, and the next is the rest of the world around me. So, higher education is understanding of these two and trying to bridge and make oneself and the world a better place. So, what is me? Unfortunately, we all become PhDs, but we have not been trained to know who we are. Okay. So, to me, higher education is a time when we understand ourselves. So, I am a physical body, I am my emotions, I am my mind, and beyond all of this, I am a soul in evolution. So, higher education is the time when I grow integrally on all these fronts. I understand, I physically am fit, resilient, healthy. Emotionally, I understand my emotions, I can master them, I can transform them. Mentally, I'm wide, I can understand. I'm not defined by I'm an engineering or a management student. I understand humanities, I understand a wide variety of things. And spiritually, there is something within us which is beyond this life, and being in touch with that. So, holistic education is this, that this is what I am. We have cases of a lot of students who are very bright from IITs who commit suicide. It's because there is no emotional understanding. We have experts not coming to a particular solution because there has not been a mental development, a wideness to accommodate others' point of view. So the first thing is knowing oneself, and that is what we call holistic education, and it is lifelong. It never stops. One never stops knowing oneself more and more, better and better. And it is worldwide. You can be anywhere and you can, know. So it is lifelong, and the whole world is the stage, learning stage. So that is knowing myself. The second is understanding the world. And here I would like to bring the importance of contextual education. Unfortunately, the reason why there is so much of less innovation in this country is because right from the beginning, as from kindergarten, right up to our higher education, we are not taught how to understand our contexts. Like we know the soil in Amazon forest and the savannas and everywhere in the world, but we don't know the soil in our own gardens and what can grow there. Similarly, we know about a lot of robotics and AI now, which is the catchword. But how to solve the water problem of a desert in Jaisalmer? Because today education, higher education especially, is just a paper degree that one gets so that one can take up a job in Dubai or the US. But mind you, US did not become US because people migrated to other greener pastures and just thought about themselves. US became US because people stayed back there, slogged hard, and made it a developed country. But in India, there is a whole migration from rural India to urban India, from urban, cities to tier one cities, from tier one cities to London and US. So it is always one is looking outward, not focused on one's context. So as students, please try to understand your context. For instance, I am a alumni of XIM Bhubaneswar, and last year when I went to my school, I was talking to the students that you should be knowing about Pipli art. Why is that not taking off? Help those Pipli artisans to become world class, handicraft people. How does it help me if I understand the case study of Pepsi Cola? Okay, I can at some point, but let me start with my context. In Bhubaneswar, for instance, how can I improve, the region around me as entrepreneurs? What is the bio? Now I'm in Himalayas. What is the biodiversity of Himalayas? Why are 800 villages getting becoming ghost villages in Uttarakhand? Because people are migrating to Delhi as refugee migrant workers, leaving acres and acres of land behind because the education is not understanding of the context. If Uttarakhand people understand their context, like in Ladakh, we try to teach our students about the context, you will see the amazing opportunity of biodiversity, of entrepreneurship, of livelihoods on one side, and improvement as educated people on the other. So it is two-way. There are Europe and US have now become developed. There is not too much, opportunity of setting up new businesses. But in India, there are thousands and lakhs of need. What is entrepreneurship? As MBA students, you must not think of being job seekers somewhere, a manager, but think of job creators. You should. And what is a entrepreneur? An entrepreneur identifies a need to make human life better and monetizes it. So, which better country than India, where there are thousands and lakhs of problems to be solved? And those are all business opportunities. And they are born in the context. We cannot cut, copy, paste, and import New York solutions or Germany's solutions. The people there, entrepreneurs, scientists, have solved their problems in their contexts. So, we need to be original thinkers, understand our contexts, and come up with local innovative solutions which enhance and enrich our context, and in the process enrich us because we have created a business opportunity out of it. So this is understanding of the world. So these two pillars are the main, that I understand myself. What am I good at? Am I an entrepreneur? Am I a writer? Am I a good filmmaker? And just go after it. Do not be influenced by the society's demands of you or your parents' demands of you. What you know yourself, nobody else can know. And know that you can become anybody. Don't be defined by your education or your experience. I am a physics honors student. I was a gold medalist. Then I moved on to doing an MBA in marketing and finance and strategy. And then I became an entrepreneur. Today I'm an educator. I did an MPhil in Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. So I have changed my careers. I have changed the industries that I worked in. And this is how the future is going to be. 80% of the jobs today are not going to be there after 20 years. So, knowing oneself and learning throughout one's life and not defining oneself that I am an engineer and that is how I'm going to be, but you can become anybody tomorrow. From an engineer, you can become an environmentalist. From an environmentalist, you can become, a poet or anything. So know that you are free and liberated and you can become anybody. Okay. So these are the two basic faculties that I understand myself, I understand the world. And then what is next? Next, higher education should prepare us that once we have understood ourselves and our context, it should not be a theoretical understanding alone. There has to be an application of what we have learned. And that is where we have to question all the content that is given out to us. Question it. Unfortunately, India has been colonized for the last maybe 1,000 years. Okay, first by the Mughals and then the British. And any colonized country has a problem in decolonizing itself. So the first thing is ask yourself why for everything. Are we doing this just because Germany or US is doing it, or is it something closer to our ethos and our culture? So that is where experiential understanding comes. So when I understand my context and I'm working experientially, I get insights about what is right for me. Okay. We have had these examples of disasters in this country. For instance, the Green Revolution. We know the problems where there was this monoculture of variety of agricultural plants with a lot of fertilizers used, and today most of Indian soil is lying fallow because the topsoil has been spoiled by this Green Revolution. And where did this Green Revolution idea come from? If you go back, and that brings us to the third point, the fourth point of indigenous wisdom. So, one of the things we lose as a colonized state is that we start looking up to the masters and that culture as superior, including the language English. When I go to a lot of restaurants and there are waiters from Northeast or from many parts of India who don't sometimes speak English, I just tell them that you don't have to speak in English. Do the French not have an accent when they speak in English? Do they feel inferior about it? No. Why, if I'm an Oriya or a Punjabi and if I have an accent, why should I feel inferior about it? It's about my thoughts and the content that I'm giving. So this whole decolonizing of the minds is something we have to do next. Okay, we have to come up with original thinking, our own ideas. It does not matter what Europe is doing, what US is doing. We have to create our own solutions. You know about this iStupa, the solution that we have come up with in Ladakh. Now Switzerland is copying that. So it is time that technology transfer happens the other way around. Let us not be net importers of technology, let us be exporters of technology, because it's the same Indians who are in Microsoft and Google who are as CEOs creating these technologies. So while I'm very proud of Mr. Pichai and others who are CEOs, but I would request all of you to not just aspire to become CEOs, but to become entrepreneurs. Set up your own Google in this country. Set up your own thing, and that can only happen when you are engaged in application experientially. Okay. So just to sum up what I have spoken till now is that we first understand ourselves. What are my strengths? We understand the context in which we are. Then we try to learn to apply things experientially. And draw upon indigenous wisdom, because India is the only civilization in the world which is more than 10,000 years old. Unbroken civilization. All the civilizations in the past, excluding China, but China today is very different from the China of the past, the Tao Chinese. But India is the only civilization which is not broken. So there must be something right that we did regarding sustainability, regarding climate, regarding our lifestyles, regarding medicine, regarding wellness, regarding agriculture, that made us sustain ourselves for 10,000 years. So let us go back to our roots, and as a colonized, post-colonized nation, let us not throw all that, baby with the bath water, but blend it with the modern technology for our context. Originally thinking and the ideas should come from us. We can learn from the world, but only when we are rooted strongly in our own culture. And finally, I would like to just add one last point, is that after we have made our education holistic, our growth and progress holistic, after we have understood the context that we are in and we are engaged with it experientially to come up with solutions by taking up indigenous wisdom, let us develop our minds as higher education students in two things. Okay, one is become transdisciplinary. No problem is a speciality or belongs to one subject. Pollution is not just about environment. It is as much about geology or hydrology or sociology, human behavior that contributes to pollution. So do not have these speciality based approach to problem solving. Just because I am a biologist or I am a management student from finance background, this is how my approach is. No, reality is composite and all solutions are composite. So let us become transdisciplinary. Let us look at a solution from all points of view. And secondly, we are being threatened by artificial intelligence. But I always tell my friends and in my talks that it is good that there is artificial intelligence, because humans had become dehumanized. If a machine can do what I was doing, then it is better that the machine should do it. I should not go down to the level of a machine. I can use myself better. And what is better? What is human? So, human is actually two things. One is that we go beyond the logical mind into the realm of wisdom. You know, from information, we had moved to knowledge. Now, let us move to wisdom, that state where you see the interconnectedness of phenomenon. You can receive intuition as human beings. Machines cannot do that. So going higher up, which is called higher order thinking, or I would say it is even beyond higher order thinking to going to the level of intuition. All great innovations happen in that way. So as human beings, let us aspire for that and go deeper in the heart, into compassion, into interconnectedness, because only those jobs will stay in future that do not have, which a machine cannot do, and what makes us human. And what makes us human is this ability to feel the other, to empathize, to have love and compassion and a higher way of being. So here is where I would end for any questions. But higher education is all about exploring oneself, knowing where one can contribute to the world. It is not about livelihood. Livelihood follows, let me tell you this. Money and fame will follow if you are engaged in something higher than yourself. And let us not go into these jargons and pedagogies and philosophies as higher education students, but just common sense. Let us explore things, first principles, as Elon Musk says, and I'm sure each one of you is a potential change maker. Don't look for security, look for making an impact, look for bringing a change in your environments, and all the rest will follow. Thank you. Are there questions?
Ma'am, July ma'am, Deepak here, nice connecting with you. Ma'am, July ma'am, it's nice to speak Ladakhi language after 1.5 years. So it's glad we are getting reconnected after 1.5 years almost. It was wonderful experience in Ladakh. And the only language, only word we could learn at day is Julie. So once again, Julie ma'am, and thank you for your time. Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much once again, Tanjali ma'am. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much again, ma'am, for taking up time from your busy schedule. There are actually many questions out here from the students, but one of the question is there. Here is the can there be philanthropy without concerns about the commodification of education? Hello.
Is it for me, the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Can there be philanthropy without concerns about the commodification of education?
Yes, as I said, after the Industrial Revolution, in the Renaissance period, education like Da Vinci was to develop oneself holistically. But in the Industrial Revolution, it was not about individual progress anymore. It was all about productivity and efficiency. And that is where the whole purpose of education became like mass production. And just as commodification happened of things, earlier it was handicraft and the diversity. With Industrial Revolution, it became mass production. So the same paradigm also came to education. So philanthropy is actually a state of being where one thinks of others, one's life as for the larger good, you know. It is not as much giving away in temples or feeding the hungry, but it is this whole attitude that I am here to make this world a better place, and I am here to add to the body of knowledge or of works that has already been created. As Einstein said that I could stand on the giant shoulders of Newton and add to what he had done. So each of us should look at our lives as an opportunity where we grow as individuals and add to the knowledge and the betterment of the world that it is. So then this is a larger understanding of philosophy, and it also does not commodify education.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, what you have said that about holistic education, indigenous wisdom, and I really agree with that decolonizing our mind is what we have to do. Thank you so much once again, ma'am, for joining with us.